Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be talking on ESR spectroscopy part 1. So I will make series of videos on electron spin resonance spectroscopy, but today I'll be talking on only introduction of ESR spectroscopy, then historical background of ESR spectroscopy, and then how to identify whether the molecule or species is ESR active or inactive. For ESR spectroscopy, you can refer these books: Molecular Spectroscopy by C.N. Banwell, then Electron Spin Resonance Spectroscopy by Philip H. Rieger, then R.S. Drago, Ahluwalia, Samuel N. Datta, Instrumental Methods of Chemical Analysis by Chatwal and Anand. But this second book is special for Electron Spin Resonance Spectroscopy by Philip H. Rieger. Even you will find Mosbar spectroscopy in other these books: Banwell, R.S. Drago, Chatwal and Anand. Before we study electron spin resonance spectroscopy, we should know what is meant by spectroscopy. In spectroscopy, the interaction of electromagnetic radiations with matter. When different types of electromagnetic radiations interact with matter, then they give different types of spectroscopy. For example, absorption of electromagnetic radiations by matter in radio frequency region, then you give NMR spectroscopy. And if absorption of electromagnetic radiations by matter in microwave region, then it gives ESR spectroscopy or electron spin resonance spectroscopy. So that we have to see the electromagnetic radiations or regions of electromagnetic radiations right from cosmic rays to radio waves. Now the electromagnetic spectrum, the arrangement of different types of radiations in the order of increasing wavelength or decreasing frequency is known as electromagnetic spectrum. The region of electromagnetic spectrum, so you can see in this picture, cosmic rays, gamma rays, X-rays, UV visible, IR, microwave and radio waves, and the wavelength increases from cosmic rays to radio wave and frequency decreases from cosmic rays to radio wave. In gamma rays, Mossbar spectroscopy is observed in gamma rays, then X-ray spectroscopy is observed in X-rays, UV visible, rotational, IR, and ESR spectroscopy is observed in microwave radiations. NMR spectroscopy is observed in radio waves. The wavelength of cosmic rays is 10 raised to minus 9 and wavelength of radio wave is 10 raised to 11, whereas the frequency of cosmic rays is 10 raised to 26 and the frequency of radio wave is 10 raised to 6. But we are interested in this region, microwave region, because ESR spectroscopy is observed in microwave region. Generally, the frequency limit for microwave is 10 raised to 11 to 10 raised to 8, this microwave region, and frequency limit for radio wave is 10 raised to 8 to 10 raised to 5. It is NMR spectroscopy. Now the introduction of ESR spectroscopy. So what are the common names of ESR spectroscopy? This spectroscopy is also known by electron paramagnetic resonance spectroscopy, EPR spectroscopy, because this spectroscopy is limited to only paramagnetic substances. And another name of this spectroscopy is electron magnetic resonance spectroscopy. So common name of ESR spectroscopy are EPR and EMR spectroscopy. This spectroscopy was introduced by Russian physicist Evgeny Zhaivsky in 1944 by applying a 47.6 GHz frequency. So the definition of ESR spectroscopy is: it is a branch of absorption spectroscopy in which radiation having a frequency in microwave region is absorbed by paramagnetic substances to induce a transition between magnetic energy level of electron with unpaired spin. The meaning of the spectroscopy itself suggests electron has a spin plus half or minus half, and when this spin plus or minus half interacts with magnetic field, then it induces a resonance. Therefore, this spectroscopy is known as electron spin resonance spectroscopy. In definition, the branch of absorption spectroscopy in which radiation having a frequency in microwave region. This is very important because ESR is observed in microwave region is absorbed by paramagnetic substances because ESR spectroscopy is limited to only paramagnetic substances containing unpaired electrons substance to induce a transitions between magnetic energy levels. So when it induces transition energy levels, when this electron spin of unpaired electron interacts with magnetic field, then it induces transition levels. Generally, frequency limit for microwave is 10 raised to 11 to 10 raised to 8. The basic principle of ESR spectroscopy is closely related to the NMR spectroscopy, but the instrumentation and application part are quite different. It consists in the absorbance of radiation having a frequency in microwave region by paramagnetic substance which induces transition between magnetic energy level of electrons with unpaired spin. The magnetic energy splitting is achieved by the application of magnetic field. So that is nothing. This is nothing but interaction of electron spin with the magnetic field, and then it induces a transitions. The unpaired electrons are normally present as odd molecules, free radicals, triplet electronic states, and transition metals and rare earth ions. So all these odd electron, unpaired electrons, free radicals, triplet state, transition metals and rare earth, all these are ESR active if they have unpaired electrons or free radicals. This spectroscopy is limited to only unpaired electrons or paramagnetic substances. The unpaired electrons of free radicals are mostly studied. These are generally obtained by homolytic fusion of a covalent bond. The electron spin resonance spectroscopy concerned with the magnetic behavior of the spinning electrons. ESR spectrum, like the NMR spectrum, results from the transition from one spin state to other state of electron. The transition occurs under the resonance condition in magnetic field. The ESR differs from NMR is that in ESR the transition is induced by radiations of microwave rather than the radio wave. Yes, I want to highlight here NMR is a study of nucleus whereas ESR is a study of electron spin. Now let us see the comparison between NMR spectroscopy and ESR spectroscopy. In NMR spectroscopy, the two different energy states are produced due to the alignment of nuclear magnetic movement. This is very important in NMR. Nuclear study or nuclear magnetic movements relative to the applied field and transition between these energy states takes place upon the application of radio frequency because NMR is observed in radio frequency and nuclear magnetic movement. This is very important. Nuclear magnetic movement and radio frequency field to the appropriate frequency. Whereas in ESR, on the other hand, in ESR spectroscopy, the two different energy states are produced due to the alignment of electron magnetic moments. So ESR spectroscopy is a study of electron, whereas NMR spectroscopy is a study of nucleus. The electron movement, magnetic movements relative to the applied field and the transition between these two energies takes place upon the absorption of quantum of radiations in microwave region. Discovery of ESR spectroscopy. ESR spectroscopy was discovered by Russian physicist Evgeny Zhaivsky in 1944. Even Zhaivsky was the first who discovered NMR signals in 1943, well before the Bloch and Purcell, but that was the period of Second World War. So he discarded that work and again he concentrated on microwave radiations and then he discovered ESR spectroscopy in 1944. The official date of discovery of ESR is 12 July 1944, the date when the paper is submitted for the publication in JETP. However, Evgeny Zhaivsky observed EPR signals first time on 21st January 1944 for manganese sulfate, because manganese sulfate is paramagnetic. At the time of Zhaivsky, the scientist Brice Blaney from Oxford University, he also independently developed ESR spectroscopy, but Zhaivsky was the first who reported his results, and all credit of ESR goes to Zhaivsky. Zhaivsky studied aqueous and non-aqueous solution of a manganese salt using radio frequency field and checking coefficient of paramagnetic absorption as a function of applied magnetic field. Even Zhaivsky was the first who discovered NMR signals well before the Bloch and Purcell, but that was the period of Second World War and the results were not reproducible. So he discarded that work and he concentrated on the ESR spectroscopy. The results or his work was interrupted by Second World War. That was the period from 1939 to 1945. Evgeny Zhaivsky also constructed first luminescent camera for studying nuclear processes and also developed method of nuclear polarization by using a lamp shift. For his discovery, APR discovery and construction of camera, he was awarded with Lenin Prize and Stalin Prize, and Zhaivsky was nominated 17 times for Nobel Prize, 15 times for physics, and 2 times for chemistry from 1959 to 1976. But unfortunately, he could not get the Nobel Prize. In the memory of Zhaivsky, his daughter Natalia wrote 2 books in Russian language, and the books were EPR Discovery, the history of EPR Discovery, first book, and second book was The Contemporaries. So as I told you in the beginning, ESR spectroscopy is limited to paramagnetic substances or unpaired electrons. The types of substances with unpaired electrons, ESR is useful for paramagnetic substances. The substances with unpaired electrons are mainly of 2 types. One is stable paramagnetic substances and second is unstable paramagnetic substances. Let us see what type of molecules are in stable paramagnetic substances. These include stable substances which can be studied very easily by ESR spectroscopy. The examples are simple molecules like NO, O2, oxygen, and NO2, and ions of rare earth elements and of transition metals. In NO or O2 and NO2, there are free electrons, and because of these free electrons, these stable paramagnetic substances are ESR active, or these molecules can be studied by ESR spectroscopy. Second is unstable paramagnetic substances. Now, which molecules are comes under unstable paramagnetic substances? This can be produced either as intermediates in chemical reactions or by irradiation of stable molecules with a beam of nuclear particles or with ultraviolet UV or X-ray radiations. The substance produces are also called free radicals or radical ion. This can be studied by ESR provided the lifetime of such radicals are greater than 10 raised to minus 6 second. If the lifetime are less than 10 raised to minus 6 second, then they should be produced at low temperature in a solid state called as matrix technique, because this technique or matrix technique increases the lifetime of radicals. Now ESR spectroscopy is used to study different types of molecules which contains free radicals, triplet state, unpaired electrons or paramagnetic molecules. It is a powerful technique or powerful tool to study first free radicals, atoms, molecules or ions containing one unpaired electron either in solid, liquid or gaseous phase. But generally gaseous phase molecules is very difficult to study with the help of ESR spectroscopy. Second is transition and actinide ions, because these may have up to 5 or 7 unpaired electrons, that is D cases and F cases, D5 or F7 unpaired electrons in d orbital and f orbital. Then third, various point defects in a solids because of delocalized imperfections in a solids. Therefore, these solids can be studied by ESR spectroscopy. Fourth is system with more than one unpaired electron. Now, which system? Triplet state system, because in triplet state, two unpaired electrons or biradicals and multiradicals. But whereas in singlet state, there are two electrons, but these two electrons are paired. Therefore, singlet state is ESR inactive, whereas triplet state is ESR active. And last, fifth is system with conducting electrons like semiconductors and metals. There are various metals having unpaired electrons or semiconductors can be studied by ESR spectroscopy. Now we saw the introduction of ESR spectroscopy, the historical background of ESR spectroscopy, and we know the ESR spectroscopy is limited to only paramagnetic substances or the substances or molecules containing at least one unpaired electron. Then these molecules are ESR active molecules. Now in this table you can see EPR active and EPR inactive, EPR or ESR or EMR. EPR active molecules and these are EPR inactive molecules. Paramagnetic active, diamagnetic inactive. For example, copper 2 plus D9 case 1 unpaired electron, so it is ESR active. Copper plus 1 D10 case no unpaired electron, it is ESR inactive. Titanium 3 plus 1 electron, it is active. Titanium 4 plus no electron, it is inactive. Manganese 2 plus active, zinc 2 plus is inactive. I mean hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen, there are electrons, so these are ESR active or EPR active, whereas in singlet state two electrons, but two electrons are paired, therefore it is ESR inactive, whereas triplet is ESR active. Nickel 2 plus Fe3 plus both are active. This NO2 and CO2 minus are isoelectronic with each other and both are ESR active, whereas in S2 it is 1s2 non-paired electron, it is ESR inactive. Sodium plus atomic number of sodium is 11, but sodium plus removal of one electron, so it becomes 10, 1s2 2s2 2p 6, so non-paired electron, therefore Na plus is ESR inactive. Similarly, chlorine is 17, atomic number of chlorine is 17, but addition of Cl minus, addition of one electron, it becomes 18, so Cl minus is also EPR inactive. So I have put one question, which of the following will show EPR spectrum? So as we know, if the molecule or species containing unpaired electron, then these molecules are ESR active or these molecules will show EPR spectrum. First option is oxygen O2, copper 2 plus, K plus, TiH2O 6 3 plus and copper plus. So which of the following will show EPR spectrum? So oxygen is ESR active, yes. Copper 2 plus D9 case, it is ESR active, it will show EPR spectrum. Whereas K plus, potassium is 19, but K plus removal of one electron, so it becomes 18, and it is ESR inactive. So K plus and Cl minus are isoelectronic. Then titanium H2O6 3 plus, Ti3 plus, D1 case, so it is ESR active or it will show ESR spectrum. Then copper plus 1 is D10 case, copper plus 1 is D10 case, so it is ESR inactive. So which of the following will show EPR spectrum? Three answer: oxygen, copper 2 plus and Ti3 plus. So this is about introduction of ESR spectroscopy and historical background of ESR spectroscopy. In next video or in next lecture, we will discuss principle of EPR spectroscopy, then electron behavior, interaction between electron spin and magnetic field, and the problems based on this interaction between electron spin and magnetic field. Thank you for watching this video. If you like, share this video and subscribe my channel for more videos. Thank you.